Hey, what's up guys, Anurag here, and if you don't know, I have been a Canon user since basically when I started making videos for this channel, which was like 5 years ago. And after using Canon cameras for so long, I am pretty well versed, you can say, with what settings are where in the menus, how to work with color profiles on a Canon camera, and all the other things. But recently I saw a video about this Fujifilm camera, which is the Fujifilm X100V on YouTube, and honestly I fell in love with the image samples that came out of that camera. Now if you have used a film camera before, you might be aware that each film that you use inside that camera has a particular look, and this look can be obtained on Fujifilm digital cameras using something called as film simulations that are installed on these cameras by default. So these simulations are basically like filters, you can say, that you can apply onto your images, which will help you to simulate that film look, which looks pretty sweet in my opinion. Now because of this reason, I really wanted to use a Fujifilm camera and play around with those film simulations, but the X100V costs around 1.3 lakh rupees in India, which is a lot of money. And also I visited some local camera dealers here in Pune, and no one seemed to have the X100V on hand, and the one person who had it was not ready to lend the camera to me for like a day or so. Now as I have been a Canon user since so long, I did not know much about Fujifilm cameras, but after doing some research I found out that not only the top tier Fujifilm cameras have those film simulations installed on them, but each and every single Fujifilm digital camera has those simulations installed on them. Now luckily I knew someone who has a Fujifilm camera and also happens to be a very good friend of mine. So I asked my good friend Akanksha, and she was kind enough to lend her camera to me for like a week. So I got the camera, and this is the Fujifilm X-T100. Now this is not some kind of a review for the Fujifilm X-T100. I mean, there are plenty of reviews on YouTube, you can go watch those, but this video is more of me sharing my experience of first time using a Fujifilm camera after, sticking to a particular brand for so long, and also some of the different things that I ran into while using this camera for a week. Now obviously if you are using a Fujifilm camera, you cannot emphasize more on how Fujifilm cameras look. In my opinion, Fujifilm probably makes the best looking cameras in the entire world. The overall design of the camera, the vintage looks pretty cool in my opinion. And even with their new launches in their digital camera lineup, they have this signature look with the black and silver color combo, which is like an identity for a Fujifilm camera, you can say. And because of this, you can easily identify from a distance whether a person is using a Fujifilm camera or not. And with this design language, I feel like Fujifilm does an amazing job at making your cameras look like a camera and not like a modern day telescope. Now the main reason I wanted to try out a Fujifilm camera was because of their film simulations. Now I'm someone who likes his photos to look kind of soft and not very sharp and very ultra digital, you can say, or processed might be the right word. And even if I'm editing photos that I have clicked, I usually tend to add some grain and haze in the photo to give it kind of that vintage look. Now I like this look so much that I got myself a vintage lens as well. If you guys want a video on that, let me know in the comment section down below. But anyways, let's jump back to the film simulations. So you get to choose from a different variety of film simulations that come pre-installed on the Fujifilm camera, and not only that, you can also make your own simulations. Now something that I noticed is that the camera that I have, that is the X-T100, it does not come with all the film simulations that Fujifilm has to offer, and this is probably the case because this is like an entry-level Fujifilm camera, you can say. But there is a workaround to this, which is a really interesting thing. So there's this website called as fujifilmweekly.com/recipes, which basically has the recipes to all the film simulations that were ever made by Fujifilm. So what you can do is select any one film simulation that you want which your camera does not have, and then dial in the settings on your own to get that particular look, which is a really cool idea. So to show you guys the difference between the different film simulations, what I did is that I clicked the same picture but with using different film simulations. Now as you can see, some of the film simulations don't really make a difference, but if you look closely, you will definitely find a difference. Now since I do photography and videography, I do notice the difference, but for a normal person, I don't think he'll be able to make out a big difference. The only two film simulations that make the image look really different are, first one is the classic chrome, which is my personal favorite one, and then there is the Velvia Vivid one, which really makes your colors pop out. Now, talking about the photos that come out of this camera, they are pretty good. Now, there's something that I noticed while taking a look at the pictures clicked from this camera is that Fujifilm cameras tend to add a little bit of sharpness to the photos, which in broad daylight looks pretty good, but as soon as the light goes down, it kind of looks weird and it kind of gives a really, water paint kind of look to your images. Now, there is a sharpness slider in the settings of the camera, which I have never seen on any other cameras before. So you can just dial that down and your photos should come out really well in low light after that. But sometimes the images just look too sharp for my liking. Now, other than that, Fujifilm cameras also have this dynamic range bracket setting, which is basically HDR but in Fujifilm style, I guess. But it functions in a completely different way to our traditional HDR processing. But anyways, talking about my experience of using this Fujifilm camera for the first time, I feel like there is a learning curve when it comes to using Fujifilm cameras. Now, obviously, some of the settings are going to be exactly same to any other camera, but what happens in Fujifilm's case is that Fujifilm tends to name things differently in the settings, so this might get a little bit confusing. But anyways, that's how my experience was with using a Fujifilm camera for the first time. Now I feel like this video will be really helpful for those who are going to switch to a Fujifilm camera and will kind of give you an idea of what things to keep in mind. But anyways, I hope you guys liked the video. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye bye.